Well, sweet. Growing to live here. Just gonna give you a quick update on my bamboo. Early spring. It is April 7th. Beautiful day, probably mid-60s. I've been clearing out the garden to get some stuff rolling. Let's take a look. Here's a shot from probably 10 feet away. In previous videos, it seemed more bushy because it has not been staked up and tied. So I technically have two varieties. This is my variety that's doing really well. It is Incense bamboo. I'll see if I can show you the tag in a minute. The other variety, Yellow Groove, has not been doing well. These were planted in the ground, I believe, July of 2017. So it has been 2.5 years, a little over 2.5 years in the ground. We are in northern Utah, even further north than Salt Lake. We're about a little less than an hour from the Idaho border, so we're pretty far northern Utah. In the winter, we hit below zero frequently. Each winter, we can get sub-zero down to the worst winter since this has been in the ground that I have paid attention to. The lowest temperature is negative 14 degrees Fahrenheit. In the summer, we hit triple digits regularly. The hottest that I've paid attention to since this has been in the ground has been about 108, I believe. Now, if it was standing straight, I stand at 5'4", and it's almost twice my height. So if the bamboo was standing straight, if it was a little bit stronger, if the stalks were stronger and they weren't tilted over, it would stand at least 10 feet tall. And then let's take a look at the shoots real quick. So these little skinny yellowing guys in the middle were probably the original shoots. I did pull up 2 dead shoots earlier this spring when I started cleaning up. If you count, there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. And that wood fence back there, a couple weeks ago, probably close to a month ago, 2 pretty tall, close to 10-foot shoots popped up. I dug those up because it's in the neighbor's property and transplanted them in a different part of the yard. The ground was still pretty cold but not frozen, and we've had a lot of wind this spring, so unfortunately the stalks are getting pretty dry. However, if the rhizomes, because the rhizomes were in good shape when I moved them, they should adapt to the new location within maybe another 4 weeks and hopefully produce some new shoots in that new area, and then we'll be set for a second grove. So like I said, what did I count? 16 in this grove, and it started at, I want to say I only started with 3. So from 3 to 16 shoots in 2.5 years is not bad at all. I'm not including the yellow grove bamboo in this grove because in the 2.5 years it's been in the ground, it started with 2 shoots, those 2 in the very middle. They are drying out and slowly dying. No new rhizomes have popped up, even with yearly feeding, and you can see mulch, twigs, wood chips, leaves, pine needles, pine cones. Like I said, I feed it yearly, and nothing. And if I come up a little, you can see dieback, dieback, more mother dieback, and the whole top, like this stalk, the whole thing, so you can see clear up here. I mean, it's taller than me, so it's probably a 6-foot stalk. Last summer is dead clear down to this branch. So the top, at least 2.5 feet, are dead. like I said, that's probably a result of the not only sub-freezing temperatures, but sub-zero Fahrenheit temperatures that we hit. And normally, at least last year and the year before, it would produce new green leaves. We are early in the spring still. Like I said, it's only April 7th, so there might still be time to produce some leaves, but there's such a drastic amount of dieback, no new shoots coming up. I haven't dug for rhizomes, but I haven't seen any surface, and I'll show you my surfaced rhizomes on my incense bamboo in a minute. But what I might do is leave it here for one more season, see if anything happens, feed it a little bit more than usual. I will also try to keep the watering on point. Since we get so hot, sometimes it's hard to get out here as frequently as I should. But if you notice, it's along this fence, so it's on the west side of a fence. So it's probably about 6 feet from this south side fence. So it's north of this fence, west of this fence, so it gets shade. It's about 3 in the afternoon, so it's getting some early evening shade. The bottom half anyways, the top is getting sun. Both of these varieties actually like full sun, but as you can see, 10 feet and 16 stalks in the same amount of time, where we have 6 feet, no new stalks, and slowly dying. I don't know if it's a result of the winter or the hot summer or less watering, but I watered the big one as much as I watered the small one. They're only about 4 feet apart, and it's just not done very well. If you come in close, I mean, there's leaves that are dying back. It almost looks like sooty mold on some of the leaves, and that's my only other concern, because I haven't noticed that on my incense bamboo, and I don't know if it's a variety specific sort of infection or if it can jump to this bamboo. However, it has not done it yet, so I'm not too worried, but that is a concern of mine. So I might cut this back pretty low, and it might force it to push up new growth. We'll see. I'll wait a little bit longer to decide. Then let's take a look at a couple other things on my incense bamboo real quick. So surfacing rhizome looks like this, and you can see it runs from the base of the original grove, and it's about 4 feet from it, and this piece that's popping up is only like 6 inches long. But since it surfaced and was in the elements, you know, the sun, obviously the snow, it has yellowing on it. But these little nodules would be new shoots, but where it was in the weather, I don't know if they will sprout. There's 2 on this one, and then it goes back under. And this rhizome, where it's this thick, it's at least 1 inch thick, probably travels at least another 12 inches. I did come across another rhizome when I was digging up some weeds that came out, oh gosh, at least another 4 feet. And same over here. I dug up one about 4 feet, and over in that area, I dug up one that goes out almost 6 feet. No new rhizomes yet, but that's pretty normal here for only being the beginning of April. We've been getting a decent amount of rain, so depending on how much rain and warm weather we get, I should be seeing new shoots within 2 weeks. Here's another surfacing rhizome. This one's about 1/3 of the size of the other one in both length and width. And I have one more that I noticed, and it's barely surfacing. It's only about 2 inches long. This one doesn't have any nodules to shoot rhizomes up, but its traveling part will. And I don't think I saw any back there. Last thing I want to show you real quick is when you get a surfacing rhizome, I don't know if you'll be able to see on this one. Nope, this one's not surfacing. but it's a little clump that has formed off of a surfacing rhizome. Coming back to where I just was, this little patch right here is only about 2 feet tall, and it's about 2.5 or 3 feet from the grove. But if you take a closer look, this is the surfacing rhizome. Comes out right there, goes back in right there, and it's put up a ton of little shoots off of it, and it more resembles, like, I don't know, short landscaping bamboo. But I need to dig up the rhizome to make sure it comes from this grove, because there is a small chance that it traveled from my yellow groove bamboo. Highly unlikely that no new shoots popped up closer and popped up, 4+ feet away. So most likely it's from my big bamboo. That would be my guess. Last thing is, you can see I used to have some bamboo stakes that I bought from the hardware store. I think I had maybe 4 for this cluster when I first planted it. Now that they have done really well, I removed all of those and they stand on their own, but they were weeping or leaning pretty bad from the weight of the snow. So I bought 3, you can see the darker green stakes in there, 3 6-foot stakes, and I tied them back towards the fence on the other side. And I actually tied some of the very back ones to the fence itself, just to keep them standing straight. And the tag's still on it. You can see I got it from Lewis Bamboo. With this variety, I am very happy. And it's done pretty well. It has some yellowing, so I do plan on feeding it today. But this is the scientific name, if you want to screenshot that or write it down and look it up. With the extremes of the weather conditions here, you should be able to grow it in any other climate that has similar conditions. Obviously, you can grow it in climates that have better conditions. With some food and more watering, I should see more new leaves popping out. I don't really have any new ones this year yet, but let me see if I can find an example. Like right here, you can see this yellow, it's almost like a little sheath around this tiny branch. That's what it looks like when bamboo forms new leaves. I can't see any at the moment, but I know every year it forms new ones. You can see some of the leaves do get cold weather damage, and it will just shed all its leaves, which helps contribute to the mulch I have under there right now, which keeps the rhizome cool and insulated when the weather gets hot, and it helps hold in more water. There is some yellowing in some spots, like this shoot right here. You can see this shoot is more yellow, but it still has very green leaves. So I feel like I'm still confident that that shoot will live. I'm gonna feed it some high nitrogen fertilizer today. Everything else is doing good. I'll just show you the green stakes from back here. You can kind of see 1, 2, third one's in there hiding. I just used green twine. And up there, you can kind of see the twine tied to the fence. There are, on the other side of the fence, 2 pretty large pine trees that provide a little bit more wind barrier if it comes from that direction, but it also provides a tiny bit of snow shelter and a little extra evening shade in the summer. But bamboo loves pine needles and pine cones as mulch. Last year I did mulch it a little bit. I did mulch it a little with pine needles last year, but most of this is just shedding from the pine trees. I do plan on going over there and grabbing some more pine needles and throwing them down before the weather gets too hot. So that is it for now. This video is sponsored by Ring Pop. No, it's not. It's not sponsored by anybody. So what are you waiting for? Contact me, leave a reply below. Let me know you want me to sponsor your product or service, or hit me up on Instagram, Growing to Live, Facebook, Growing to Live. Please like, subscribe, and share. Leave a comment, tell me what you think. Are you growing incense bamboo or any sort of bamboo? What climate are you in? Have you tried to grow cold hardy bamboo before? This was my experiment 2.5 years in, and it's doing phenomenal. Thanks for watching, guys.